The objective of today's meeting is an update on the merger, and we're going to hear from the CEO of IAOIP about their logic for joining forces with GIMI. While we're waiting, I'll present from the GIMI perspective what our logic was and why it just makes sense. GIMI's objective is to get to 1 million certificates in the next 5 years or 4 years. And in order to be able to accomplish this, we got to figure out, transformational ways to be able to achieve that. And there are a range of things that were very attractive that the IAOIP had, starting from the fact that they already had members, 4,000 of them. They also already had certain specific assets, which are very, very powerful and useful for us to work together with. And let me just explain what they are. One of them is they have a journal of management sciences. And the Journal of Management Sciences is an academic journal, and it's put together by university professors and other people who like to write and publish. And these articles are all about innovation management and what's latest, what's going on in there, and will allow our community to also publish. And so that's one part of it. The other part that they have, which is very interesting for us, was the fact that they are also the official administrator of the ISO tag in the United States of America. And they are essentially congregating individuals who are interested in creating the standards, and they're called the tag, the ISO tag. And this ISO tag then puts out what would be the next standard for innovation certification, and it's an ISO. And us as GIMI being closely tied to ISO is important because as this topic becomes increasingly into a true management science, GIMI needs to be close to that and be supporting that and helping in every way possible. And then, of course, they have a whole bunch of senior people who are well known in the industry. They are luminaries. They've written books. They've talked about the topic. They are on the speech circuit and other things. And GIMI also is on the same side, but to combine the two teams together now would create even more prestigious organization with the people who are there. So those are important reasons. And I'm not sure, Ron.
Yeah, just as a footnote to that,
something.
There's two sets of ISO standards. There's a set of ISO standards that are being promulgated right now. And then there's the set that this group has responsibility of, which is essentially the next generation of ISO standards. So they're the administrator for the new generation, which is particularly interesting to us. And I think we have a lot of value to add to that combines with them. So we feel that this merger is indeed beneficial to their members, beneficial to our members, beneficial to general, our combined objective to scale this up worldwide. And we're excited about it.
So maybe while we are waiting for Brett, maybe what I'd like to know is if you guys have any questions. I think we can answer some of those questions. And feel free to turn on your microphone and ask the question, because we are moving forward on the merger, and we're excited. But clearly not everybody was aware of all the details, and if there's any details we can share with you, we'd be happy to share with you. So if there's any questions out there.
Is there going to be any change in what you are already offering HP? Are you going to keep the current offering as they are, or are you going to drop some? Or
that's a good question. Both organizations have a range of products and services that they offer. And at this moment, as we're trying to understand what their offers are, what their products and services are, and what's in our portfolio, we're trying to rationalize what makes sense and what should be added or modified. But we won't make any changes for the next 6 months in terms of creating any disruptions. So we aren't going to change things. But at the high level, what we want to do is make sure that we have complementary products in the portfolio. The GIMI certifications are level 1, 2, 3, and 4. the company certificates of GIMI level 1, 2, 3 will continue. There will be no changes to that. That's essentially a standards that we created around the world. They'll continue.
And the only
On
thing,
their side,
if I can just add a little bit to that, the only thing we might do is the Catalyst GIMI certification might be made available to all of their members. So we'll try to collapse. Their standards tend to be more limited than ours. So we are, as you know, recognized as ISO plus, and so they're focused on ISO. So we could put that as part of the Catalyst offering, but then get people to essentially move up to ISO plus, which would be GIMI level 1 and 2. But that's all, as Hitendra said, during the next 6 months. It's not something that would happen immediately. We're just trying to make this attractive to their members as well as to our members without hiccups.
I have two questions.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I have two
Who is
questions.
this?
So what is the name? Albert here. What is the name of the merged entity, the new merged entity? And the second question is actually what happens to the foresight programs under GIMI?
Perfect. So I'll answer the foresight programs. Foresight programs continue. They are preeminent. They are what we think will become more and more demanded in the future as more people realize foresight is key for ministries, governments, and companies. And just like there's an office of innovation opening up in most companies, there will be over time a person responsible for foresight and all that. So foresight will continue, and our partners in Portugal will continue advancing the thought leadership on that front. What GIMI is very good at this moment, just to make sure, is our CTPs and our community is able to take the GIMI content and then advance them into programs. And so many of the programs will continue also, right? So that's where we are. In terms of the name, right now, just to make sure that neither organization feels that they are being supplanted by somebody else or each other, we have basically agreed on saying GIMI IAOIP if you are a GIMI partner. And if you are an IAOIP member, then you can write -GIMI. And this way, there will be a little bit of confusion in the market if both of us go to the same customer, right? So there will be some confusion on that. But to manage just the fact that people have current customers, people are working with people, we don't want to create any disruption for you, but we want each partner to see that by adding the other partner's name, they actually have an ability to say we also do what the other partner offers. So we just want to increase the branding and the opportunity for organizations to do that. And so again, on that front, we are moving. There's not a strict decision on how we're gonna brand this yet. The main thing was we wanted to move fast, and because we moved fast, there are certain things which are still open in terms of how it will look like. I see Brett has joined us. Brett, hi, how are you? Is Brett on, Carolina?
So just while we're waiting for Brett, their membership and kind of connections are much stronger in North America than in the rest of the world. We're both international organizations, but we're stronger in rest of world and they're stronger in North America. So it shouldn't have a significant impact on all of those on the call who are from not from North America. And if you are from North America, it's just going to significantly enhance the network in North America.
Maybe I misunderstood. Is Brett online yet?
I don't see him.
HP, may I?
Arila, can you first let me know what the status is?
He's about to join HP. He's having some troubles with the internet. That's why.
Okay, very good. No worries. We can keep on taking questions meanwhile. Massimo, please go ahead.
Yes, HP, I have a question. I saw the list of places or countries they are active in, and I saw that there are many countries, as you said, in Europe where they are not present. So maybe this is also a good, how to say, a good opportunity to leverage each other's strength. I saw that they are present, for example, in the United Kingdom. They're not present in Germany or in Italy. So maybe there's a chance also to join, by joining forces, to have more push to enter these markets, right? With something that is ISO certified, and ISO is a very strong track record, especially I think in the Anglo-Saxon world and also German.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, perfect, Massimo. You're on target on that. The logic was to look for complementary reasons to collaborate, and they have people around the globe, and in some cases they're just individual members. In some cases they are potentially what we would call something that looks like a CTP, and in some cases they are actually sponsors of what they do. Remember, GIMI has not made its money from membership, and GIMI does not make its money from sponsors, but our partner does. And so now if we can integrate their business model into GIMI, and we get our certified members to become partners, and the people who become partners, members, are allowed to have access to the journals. They have access to a discounted pricing for certification and other things. Now the membership model is very powerful in terms of creating sustainability for both GIMI and IAOIP. And so there are business models that they have that we find very attractive, and the models that we have that they don't have, our CTPs. The most powerful thing that we have is our CTPs who care about the success of GIMI. They care about the quality of the products and services, because they go out to the market, and they are challenged by the market, whether it's good or bad. And so there's pressure from you guys, and that pressure from the CTPs is really, really effective and powerful for GIMI. And we can introduce that back into the other community and see if that works for them. But again, I want to just emphasize, we are looking at 1+1 as being 3, 4, 5. And we are confident that this will not create disruptions in your specific business models and your specific approaches. Where we are really going to focus down on is memberships, sponsorships, and maybe add more CTPs in countries that we don't have. So Brett, good morning. Thanks for coming. Coming in from Santa Fe, one of the most beautiful places in the United States. I hope all is well, and welcome to the GIMI think tank. You have the floor. I'm going to let you get settled in. As you said, I've been basically introducing from GIMI's perspective the logic of why we wanted to partner with you, Brett, and IAOIP. And the main thing, what I think I would like to emphasize is the first thing is our leadership styles between Brett's and what we have in GIMI are very similar in style. Our values are very aligned. We have a similar objective of democratizing innovation. Our mission and vision are not that far apart. And we've both been working very hard to create communities and networks. And to a large extent, those community networks are somewhat complementary in some cases. And we had successes on different things that if we combine 1+1, we believe it will be 4, 5, 6, or 7. And so I'm really excited, Brett, to have you as part of our member and team and everything else. And I'm going to give you the floor, so to give you a chance to describe your logic and your reasons for joining, and then maybe to take some questions.
Wonderful. I can show a few slides. You may not necessarily want to see slides, but that way I can just walk through them fast. We're not going to go slowly, but I'll give you kind of the way we saw the world when we started IAOIP 10 years ago. And then, of course, we're not going to do things the way IAOIP's been doing it when we bring the organizations together, but at least you'll understand where we came from. And as those of you who are obviously active members of GIMI start looking at what we've got, at least you'll kind of understand, okay, this was our thinking when we did it. It may not have been correct. It may have been correct. But this way, like I said, it lays out some context. And I will admit that there have been some things that we've done well and some things that I think we've fallen down on, which is another reason why we're doing this. COVID really exposed where we had weaknesses. in the system. So
I got my headphones on.
and hopefully everything will work great here.
Yeah, I see your slides.
So do you see them?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so, part of innovation, of course, is, taking raw ideas and turning them into something else. This was when I learned that I could sculpt. If you can't tell, that's actually a bust. That's an intermediate picture. And then that was kind of the final picture. I didn't know I was even creative. I didn't know I could do art. I took this raw clay and I opened up my mind, and it became something that was pretty cool. And Michael Rayner said, performance trade-offs, attainment of an outcome expands the realm of possibility. And one of the problems that we saw when we started the association was that we felt like everybody was talking about innovation, but no one was actually knew what it meant. So, it was, motherhood and apple pie, it's America, it's innovation. Well, frankly, what we've seen is America is falling, the United States is falling behind in innovation, whereas the rest of the world is moving forward. And so, and part of that I blame on the American habit of saying, oh, this is the best. And it's a marketing perspective. We're so innovative. And what pushed us in the beginning was, I remember there was a commercial from a fruit company, and they said, we're the most innovative fruit company. And I said, how can you be an innovative fruit company? Are you growing, green, purple bananas, or, how does that work? And so a lot of this innovation thing that we were doing, especially in the United States, and even 15 years ago, was mostly marketing, and no one was really having to be innovative, but they were saying they were innovative, and we said we don't want that, because prior to me becoming a professor, I was the partner in charge of everything having to do with quality, business process reengineering, et cetera, at KPMG. And what I noticed was everyone wanted Six Sigma, but no one wanted to actually do what was required to do quality. And it was the same thing that was playing out in innovation. Everybody wanted to say they were innovative, but they didn't actually want to do anything about it. So, it was more of a marketing thing. Tell the world we're innovative, but not actually be that way. And then they buy from us because we're so innovative and so wonderful. So innovation, sometimes it's going to hurt. I like this one, innovation, finding new different icebergs to steam into. So what we were trying to do when we started IAOIP was bring some order into a disorderly field. And you all know at GIMI how crazy innovation can be. It isn't like anything we've done before, because well, as an example, at the university, I've had a number of universities I've worked with, including the ones that I worked at, who said, where should we put innovation? And I said, everywhere. It's everywhere. You can't just be in the engineering department. You can't just be in the marketing department, the business school, the design school. It has to be kind of everywhere. And so that's one of the things that was really difficult. So in 2007, I was the founding editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Innovation Science. This is one of the things that's going to be great for you guys. We're going to have to work it out with Emerald Publishing. But for those of you that understand academia, it has about a 4.5 impact factor. For those of you that don't know innovation, that's pretty good, especially for a 15-year-old journal. That means basically for every article, there's 4.5 citations from every issue. Doesn't sound like a lot, but in the academic field, it's actually pretty impressive, especially for a fairly new journal. So that journal will come along. The way we currently do it at the association is we offer it for free to certain members. And to let you know how valuable that is, there's about 1,000 papers in the journal right now. And if you were to buy each one of those papers individually, it'd be $30 each. So you'd have to spend, what is that, $30,000 to acquire all those papers. It's currently free, like I said, to certain members of the association. A lot of really good research on innovation there. Started in 2008. Once again, I was concerned it was being overused, and we wanted to create something that was repeatable. So we called innovation science. You have methods and tools that you can demonstrate, achieve the same results over and over again, versus what we all know. And, let's face the reality. There's a lot of innovation efforts where it's like the old, there used to be an old comic that said something to the effect of, and then a miracle happens somewhere in the middle, and then we get these results, but we have no idea how they happened or whether we could make them happen again. And then we wanted to create a basis for the perfection of innovation standards. We also saw that innovation professionals, their employees were actually looking for certified, verifiable innovation professionals. This is what GIMI's been very good at. You guys have certified a lot of people. And, now you can go into an employer who's looking for someone with innovation background, or a chief innovation officer, director of innovation, and you can demonstrate that innovation. Versus what we saw when we started doing it was, I did a search at one point on accountant. This is in LinkedIn, accountant in their title versus innovation in their title. And at one point in time, I counted more people with innovation in their titles than accountants. Well, we know every college in the world offers an accounting degree, but almost none offer an innovation degree, which told me that there was a whole lot of people just sticking innovation on their title or innovation in their LinkedIn profile with probably no actual experience in innovation except for reading a few books. And we wanted to say, well, if someone calls themselves out as an innovation professional, how can they prove that? So that was part of our motivation in the beginning too, because major employees said they had difficulty hiring individuals with innovation training. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. This is why your certification is important. And so these are some examples of what people might consider innovation, right? Not exactly what we would call innovation. Houseboat, speakerphone, steps on things, a raised toilet for a handicapped person. You can just see just a lot of jokes that I collected over time. The locksmith with a lock on his door. So we started talking about what should the curriculum contain. This is where we'll have some interesting discussions, and not in a bad way, because I think we got some of it right, but we didn't get all of it right. And at the time we found that 300 colleges and universities had innovation programs, but we only thought that about 30% were actually considered viable. So you might have, and what people confused was the difference between entrepreneurship and innovation. And what I always say is, if I own a McDonald's franchise, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm not an innovator, because McDonald's tells me everything I have to do, exactly how long I have to cook the fries, exactly what food I have to serve. And so that's not innovation, that's entrepreneurship. Most schools were teaching entrepreneurship and calling it entrepreneurship and innovation. And that's a problem we still have in this innovation space, is a lot of people think that because you're an entrepreneur, you're an innovator, which is not necessarily the case. Yes, sometimes it's true, but many times it's not. So is entrepreneurship the same as innovation? And we then said standard definition innovation was the first thing. In ISO 56002, and I've been the secretariat of that since we started it. I actually started going to the ISO meetings back in Madrid in 2014, when the ISO 279 tag was first formed. I was at the first meeting, and if you're not involved in ISO, you should take a look at it. But the first thing we had to do was say, what does innovation mean? And I think ISO has a good definition of what innovation, a working innovation definition. And the challenge has always been, well, do you have to make money for it to be an innovation? And too many people said, oh, it's a way to make more money. However, an innovation in, how you catch fish. Well, that's not a good example, but you can think of things where you're improving the world, you're improving a process. That doesn't necessarily mean that it involves money. So you had to throw out the money piece of it. You couldn't make that as part of the definition. And that was the big challenge we had. So what ISO finally came up with was something around you're adding value. And value doesn't have to be money. Value just means you're making something better, making someone's life better, etc. So we all know, many people, and we heard this out of IT. Back in the 90s, there was this famous IT thing that Ernst & Young, or Ernst & Winnie, I guess at the time, said that something like 90% of IT implementations failed. I don't think that's the case anymore, because we're 20 years into doing IT and 30 years into doing IT implementations. Well, once we're 30 years into doing innovation, I think we'll be way more successful. And it's because of people like you, like GIMI, the members of GIMI, the members of IAOIP, who've actually taken innovation seriously and want to improve it and make it predictable and make it successful on an ongoing basis. So the fact that a lot of innovation efforts fail is not an indictment on innovation. We just need to keep sticking it out until we figure it out and how to make it work consistently. But part of the problem, of course, was unqualified new hires. I come in, I say I'm an expert in innovation. They believe me because there was no certifications. What do the colleges need to teach? And then, of course, employees and students didn't know how to evaluate college programs. And the general public didn't really know what innovation was, because we spouted that we're the most innovative fruit company, which really had nothing to do with innovation. It was all a marketing play. So the market confused people about what innovation is. Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So we had to do something about it, even if we didn't succeed. So we started the IAOIP. We wanted to create an internationally accepted body of knowledge and a certification program for innovators. We wanted to define innovation. We wanted to convene working groups. So what we did early on was there's a standard called ISO 17024. And that standard is for the certification of individuals. And it has things in it like you have to have working groups, you have to vote. It sort of follows the way ISO does all of their standards. We wanted to develop and administer a base certification of innovation, which we were able to develop in 2016. And then we wanted to develop more specialized innovation certifications, which we've never gotten to, like a certification in healthcare innovation. We've never achieved that goal. We just haven't had enough resources, time, and dedication to the effort, but we've constantly tried to move in that direction. Webinars so that we could educate people. Jimmy's done a great job of that. You should be proud of what you've built. And so that was what we wanted to do. Like I said, 17024 conformity assessment, which calls that there has to be a protocol. It has to be organized for impartiality. And so you can see this, but this is what we've tried to do. We wanted this, like I said, a foundation certification, and then we wanted to develop advanced certifications, which we've done some of, and then also management, and then specialized, which I said was like in industries, because there is this need for, in healthcare or in different kinds of industries. What we originally wanted to do was we divided it up. And so we were initially trying to do a base certification as a practitioner. And then we wanted to develop, so if you look around the circle off the mind map, you can see how to identify opportunities. So these were going to be subcategories. And if you earned, like I think we decided if you earned 8 of these, 10 or 11 here, then you'd have an advanced certification. You didn't have to take an advanced certification. Because if you look at, say, business essentials, how do you get funded? How do you plan for partners? And there is an ISO standard 170 or 56005 on how to do partner planning. How do you do accounting, finance? And one of the reasons we thought about doing this was, and it was kind of funny because you don't have engineering in here. The engineers said, all you need to know is engineering. The business people said, I'd like to know a little bit about other stuff. And the funny story is, for those of you who are out there, how many are business people who've had the engineering group come in and say, I've got this idea for the perfect computer. And the business person crunches the numbers, says, well, that's great, but it'll cost $50,000 and we'll never be able to sell one. And then on the other side, the engineer who has the business person come in and say, hey, we should build a bridge to England so that next time a volcano erupts in Iceland, people can still travel. And the engineer goes, you can't build a bridge to England. And the business person says, you must not be a very good engineer, because they don't understand each other's professions, which gets to something that I don't have in this presentation here. And you'll see me talking about, or you'll hear me talking about, and you'll see me writing articles. So I've actually written articles on polymaths. And a polymath, for those of you who don't know the definition, might also be called a Renaissance man or Renaissance person, someone who, if you think of like Leonardo da Vinci, he did language, he did art, he did music, he did engineering. So this is one of the reasons he was so innovative, is because he didn't just do one thing. And so I'm advocating in innovation all over the world that we all become a little bit more of a polymath, that we step outside our bounds and that we understand things. And I've been trying to get companies to create an innovation, just the same way they had a management training program where you do management in different parts, an innovation, a chief innovation officer program where you spend some time in accounting. Not that you're an accountant, you spend some time in manufacturing, not that you're a manufacturing expert, but so that when you come up with new ideas, you consider all the angles. And that was kind of the basis of what we had going on here. So we created student memberships, individual members, nonprofit, and university memberships, silver, gold, and platinum. Whether this plays out for GIMI in the long run, we'll see. We also have free memberships, and the free memberships, I will be frank with you, we were hoping that it would result in more sales of study guides, certifications, etc. It hasn't necessarily played out that way, but you know, GIMI is really good at working with members and certifications and stuff. So this is one of the things that we want, is to do a better job of this. We've done an okay job. We've got about 4,000 members. But GIMI, you know, you've got 12,000, 15,000, 18,000 people sort of associated with the organization. So GIMI has done a better job of creating a community than we have. And so that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to, is how we're going to improve this community for everyone involved. We can skip that. We don't train. So this is one of the things that comes into ISO 17024. You cannot administer the certification and also train. So we were looking at universities, consultants, training partners to do it. You guys, once again, have just done an amazing job of it, where we've done a poor job. And so that's part of this synergy that we're looking for, is how well you've done it, creating a partner network, et cetera, out of GIMI. Certification content, we can skip that. Other certifying grandfathering is available. Oh, and by the way, this is one of the things, of course, we're working out, is how the certifications will grandfather across each other. We don't know the details of that yet, and so, you know, we'll be working that out over the next couple of months. We currently give exams personally or via the internet. We did not allow training partners to actually administer the exams. As part of 17024, they had to go online and take the exam, not directly from the training partner. I don't know how we'll work that out. I don't know how you guys are currently doing that. You know, Thomas Edison famously said. So the other thing we created that we thought was important was CPU and CPE credits. In our certification, you get certified, and then as long as you earn 60 credits every 3 years, your certification continued to roll forward. I'm not sure exactly how GIMI does it, but that's something we'll work out. You can earn CPE credits by working with working groups, by teaching or training, by speaking at conferences, by publishing in a peer-reviewed member thing. Membership was open to all. This was an important concept because early on, we said, should someone be required to have, say, a college degree? And I said, well, then that would be great, because Steve Jobs and Bill Gates couldn't be members. So there's no reason. And I like that you guys have a high school level innovation prep thing. This is amazing. and I applaud you for doing it, because the sooner we can get people introduced in innovation, obviously the better. And it's all about numbers. The more people that contribute, the better the innovation body of knowledge, other information, just interesting stuff. We've grown to about 4,500 members. About 30% are academic. We have over 500 certified members. You guys have about 12,000 unique individuals, I believe. So you've done much, much better than we have. The exams, the later exams are more challenging. The body of knowledge that we based the exam on is the Global Innovation Science Handbook. In 2013, it was awarded, it was a first runner-up as the best technology in the engineering book. And so we've also contemplated doing a GISH 2, an updated version of it. And this would be an opportunity if someone wants to write a chapter and we want to redevelop this and create a book more attuned to however the new certification is, we can do that. We've held a number of conferences, but of course, part of the reason that we're talking about this merger is because, frankly, you guys seem to have done a better job weathering COVID. It's really, really made it difficult for the IAOIP. We did not get through COVID because we were making most of our money on our conferences, not on our certification training and delivery. So we had the wrong strategy at exactly the wrong time. We have been the ISO tag administrator for about 7 years, and we're still working out how that carries over. You know, this we can just skip. And that's it. So I don't know where we want to go from here, but stop share.
Thank you
But
very much.
that's where we came from.
Brett, thank you very much for that. Why don't we do Q&A? Let me ask questions and see, you know, feel free to answer and either ask questions for Brett or for myself.
Yes. Please use your mic, or you can write in the chat, whatever you prefer.
Thank you. Likewise, in our kind of through our initial meetings, we've changed our perception of AIOP as well. I think that we felt that it was tied to the ISO standards indelibly, and that the ISO standards were very much kind of continuous improvement, discipline, engineering related standards. And of course, it's not that. I mean, what AIOP has done with it is very far beyond kind of standard engineering processes. So that was a kind of good awareness on our part, but still, as Brett has said, you know, we don't have, the perception is, oh, ISO, that ISO is better than anything else. And so we didn't have that connection to ISO. So we spent quite a bit of time trying to convince everybody at ISO and in our market that we were ISO plus. We were ISO compliant, but we were moving beyond ISO. But that's been a kind of like rolling a rock up the hill. It's difficult to convince everybody that you're ISO plus when you weren't even ISO. So it's been a uphill climb. And I think from a perception point of view, we haven't conquered that mountaintop yet, but I think with AIOP, we can definitely do that. I think the other thing that was is somewhat true was we felt that AIOP was more academic. I think we've wanted to avoid becoming overly academic. On the other hand, we probably weren't academic enough. So in the last couple of years, we've really pushed on the university partnerships and the curriculum and delivery of programs through universities. So I think we are now maybe not equally academic, but certainly have a strong, very strong academic connection. So again, from a perception point of view, hopefully we can nail that. I mean, I had a recent case in Morocco where they said, you know, well, you're not academic enough. And so they ended up having to hire one of us as an expert because they didn't want to hire Jimmy because they weren't academic enough. And so those people exist in certain areas. So I think, again, having a connection to AIOP will help us for the perception of the academic credentials and the luminaries who we can call upon. I
Well,
think
and, I don't know if HP talked about this, but you know, I've grown tired of operations, and we've had fits and starts with operations at IAOIP over the last several years. And you know, my thing is, I was a professor at NYU, and I'm still a professor. And my desire has always been to do thought leadership, speak at conferences, do board retreats, you know, that, and write, of course, to continue to write. This means that, you know, the superior operations capability of GIMI will do a much better job of running the association. And I can spend more time thinking and writing and giving speeches, which makes me happy. And I'll let HP have all the headaches of running the day-to-day operations, because I don't want to do it any longer.
and in addition, you know, we haven't had the time. You know, I've written a couple books, Attempt written a couple books, we've written articles, but we haven't been able to sponsor our own journal. So we haven't been able to really build that kind of excellence around thought leadership. And yet it was in our mission from the beginning. We wanted to have preeminent thought leadership on emerging kind of practices, best practices, everything else in innovation. So we had that ambition, but we didn't have the time, because we were spending too much, not too much, but a lot of time getting operations straight, both for GIMI and for IXL. So I think that, you know, again, this merger enables us to have a vehicle, the journal, to be able to give everybody a platform for describing kind of what they're doing, what the challenges are and how they're facing them. And we have this GIMI think tank, which I think, you know, we kind of started it because of COVID, but I think it's a great way to keep everybody connected and have a connected network, because we have this session every Wednesday, and usually with outside speakers, talking about what they're doing in their part of the world or in their industries. So I just see this, I don't see any downside and only upside for both organizations, both sets of members, both sets of products and services. And I haven't seen any deal breakers yet at all.
So Ron and HP, so Cristano has his hand raised for a while ago. So Cristano, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Ariela. Hi, Brett, and everybody. This is Kristanto from Jakarta, Indonesia. So first of all, congratulations for the engagement and leading to further to marriage. So I completely agree to what Ron Jonas has said. We are learning from each other, and I think innovation management is far wider than actually just for one or two organizations. So we can actually become synergized and to realize our common vision to democratize innovation all over the world. But to be concrete about this thing, I think the challenge will be that every organization will build mindset, right? So there will be a collision, there will be duplications that we have to resolve so that it becomes like one team with a synergistic effort to develop innovation. But from the Indonesian perspective, being not such an advanced country, I think the complementary addition of ISO 56000 approach may actually make innovation become easier to be comprehended by our business people, because we are somewhat comfortable more if it is structured, right? So I'm looking forward for the further development from the customer perspective. Let's make our customer happy, not confused because of the duplication, and then they can select what they need And the customer will be the individual professional and the companies, which I think ISO will very much oriented to corporation and organization. And I hope that GIMI will take more on the professional competencies in innovation. So there should be no conflict. There will be synergistic for both of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And in your part of the world, Asia Pacific University is someone we're engaged with, and I think APU is doing an amazing job out there. Subeng Ko is on our board of directors. If you knew Subeng, so there's a lot of interest in, especially in your part of the world, it's really great. And APU, of course, is a leader in that area. So.
And that's the other thing I'd like to emphasize is a lot of our partnerships are very complementary. So AIOP has this strong partnership with Asia Pacific University. We have this strong partnership with both AIM out of the Philippines, with IIT out of India, and with university in Japan, in Korea rather. So I think all of these partnerships, at least that I've heard described, are complementary, and they all start from the same roots. So we start with the same working definition of innovation. It's about creating and capturing new value in new ways through new products, new services, new business models, whatever. But it's value. It's not money, as Brett said. And I think the thing about Wayne Gretzky, you don't get for the shot you didn't take or whatever. Also, Wayne said you need to shoot the puck where the player's gonna be, not where the player is now. And I think that's another thing about innovation, is targeting opportunities that are evolving and emerging, what if and what's next, not just designing something that worked 10 years ago or today. So that's all.
We have another question from Enrique. Enrique is our partner in Peru. Enrique, please.
Thank you, Rila. Hey, Brett, how are you?
Hi, Enrique. We've already connected and are planning on meeting to talk about
Yes, sir.
innovation.
Yes, sir. I wanted to say you are living in one of my favorite cities on the planet, New Mexico, Santa Fe. I spent there 1 year, several years ago, and I remember still this Christmas time, with all the snow and the beautiful town and the lights. What a great town. So I like that.
Well, thanks. It's an innovation, inspirational city with all the art galleries and the restaurants and stuff here. So
it is actually, it's a beautiful city. Yeah.
So just a quick comment on that. So I've spent a lot of time in Santa Fe too. And I think our common purpose beyond innovation is to create sustainable and fertile fields for creativity and innovation. And Santa Fe is certainly one of those fields. So it's fun to have people located in areas that are indeed these fertile fields that are sustainable and that can be replicated in the rest of the world. So it is great to will be great to have a partner in Santa Fe.
Yeah. Actually, I have felt twice in my life, some sort of energy. One time was in Cusco, in Peru, in the Andes, and the other was in Santa Fe. It was incredible, the energy that you can feel from that town is tremendous.
Well, Enrique, I have a wonderful guest house, so everyone's welcome to come and visit.
Great.
So Enrique, just one thing so the only time I ever cried in public was at the Sun Gate at the end of the Inca Trail coming down into Machu Picchu. And both my wife and I just cried with our 6 children, not for having completed the hike, but just for the vision of coming down into a totally unoccupied, fertile field where people had been really creative thousands of years ago. So.
Exactly. No, thank you so much. My question was more, I can see this as a tremendous opportunity for, for both organizations and for all of us. I wanted to talk more about the ISO. In Latin America, our institutions, they're always looking for a sort of like an ISO type of certification. I know that you guys, you know, the IO in your the IA
Association.
you have developed this, like you have the tag for the ISO 279, and you're part of the global group that is setting the standards, you know, for the ISO 56000. Do you see in the near future, you know, having we are ISO plus, but still, you know, that's not really enough for the governments to say, you know what, this is like a ISO certified. Do you see in the near future that our, you know, now that we're working together, we can come up with this program that are ISO certified with, you know, with the 56,000 and 56,002 or 4, I believe?
You know, I think so, but I will tell you that anytime there's a transition like this going on, the American National Standards Institute, ANSI, if you understand standards, ANSI reports to ISO in the United States. ANSI farms out all of the standards development. There's going to be some challenges with changing the organizations, and who knows how that'll play out. But in the end, I'm hoping that, you know, it'll play through. Of course, the problem is that the U.S. tag is only open to U.S. people, which is going to be a challenge. But we've got a real depth now of people who understand ISO 56000. There's about 40 people on the tag who are, their memberships are going to carry over. Yes, we might lose some of them, but where else are they going to go? So I think it's all going to work out really great.
Maybe Brett, I don't know, for the sake of the understanding for this group, is worth to explain a little bit what's the ISO tag 279 basically purpose, what they have been doing so far, what are some of the standards that the association is selling, so and where is ISO right now, like the ISO standard and framework right now.
So for those of you who know standards, 56,000, anything with a 00 is just terms and terminology vocabulary. So we've adopted that. 56,002 is a guidance document. So zeros, anything that has a 02 on it is a guidance document. And then everything above that. So 56,004 is partnerships. 56,005 is intellectual property management. And those things will continue on. I don't always agree with them. I think that they are a little bit too much process reengineering, ISO 9000 oriented. And frankly, you know, that's a problem because these quality people, the 9000 people, they want everything to be a process reengineering, quality improvement process. And they're trying to apply a lot of that towards innovation. And so there's some places where you just have to break out of the you know, the wagon wheel ruts, and you need for innovation to go in a different direction. I don't think it accommodates that as well as it could, but companies want a rule book. Hand me the book, tell me what to do so I can get certified. But hopefully what that does is that creates the base. And the base then says, if you start with the base, then where you go from the base is really up to you, and the more successful, innovative companies will be there. But at least you can get your certification. Just in like ISO 9000, you're doing all the steps. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're creating a quality product. You're just doing everything that's required by ISO. So the 01 is actually the auditable standard. So there will be a 56,001, and that might come out by the end of next year. They're saying 2025. So at that point, and this is another thing that GIMI's very well positioned for, is then you become, and we'll need to work on this. There are certain organizations that do accreditation for ISO, and we should start bringing those partnerships in now, so that when 56,001 actually is launched, then we have accreditation partners. So you would have GIMI, you would have training partners that would prepare the individuals and the companies, and then you would have that third entity is the accreditation organization that actually comes in and does the audit. make sure that all the paperwork's in line, all the processes are published, et cetera, et cetera. And I would recommend that, you know, we start working on those accreditation partners ASAP as soon as we can.
Thank you. Great insights, Brett. I see that we are running out of time, but I think the last question is for both you, HP, and also for Ron. How do you see the future? So to end up like on a positive note, how do you see the future with the merge? What are the future plans for both GIMI and the organization?
Well, I'll start, and Ron and HP, if you want to fill in. I think you figured out that GIMI does such a great job of operations, and you know, congratulations, Ron and HP, Aurelia, the rest of the team. Really great job of running an organization. We've done not nearly as good a job of it. And so, you know, when at the end of the day, we're considering this a merger of equals, which means neither one of us are necessarily taking over the other one. You know, I see that the operations will be run by GIMI, the training network will be GIMI, and likely most of this will look like GIMI, but we'll bring in some of the thought leadership. I'll go out and do more speaking and writing and representation of GIMI to the governments, to the universities. I've got a couple of doctorates, and I've been working in this space and published 7 books already on innovation. So I'm looking forward to not having to run operations anymore. And because GIMI's done such a great job of developing an organization that runs well, it's going to be better it's just going to be a better organization.
Thank you, Brett. It sounds exciting.
Just as a footnote to that, I would say, you know, this is the real significant opportunity to become the preeminent organization for thought leadership and innovation when we combine these forces. So we can definitely back up the claim that we are thought leaders for both current and future kind of innovation, and that we are the standard setters. We are, we will enable you to get an ISO 56000 or 56001 or whatever certification. Maybe we change the level 1 to make sure it's fully compliant, maybe with a plus, and maybe 2, 3, and 4 plus. But I think we'll be able to navigate that, and we'll be able to provide certifications to both US-based organizations as well as international and non-US organizations. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the scale, because I think not only do we increase our scale because we combine members that we have now, but we combine our capability both in operations and thought leadership to really dramatically increase the number of certified members. And we have a business model that's sustainable. It'll be sustainable through the next COVID. It'll be sustainable now. People will be proud of it. This will be the first card they carry in their billfold to say, I am a member of this organization that is the preeminent certification, standard setters, and research organization for innovation in the world. So that's at least where I think we're going, to answer your question, Arila.
Thank you, Ron. Hitendra, any last point from your side?
So first of all, I'm really excited to partner with Brett. I believe 1 + 1 is 3. We've all been working in terms of bringing work, creating standards, and we were the drivers of the industry. And so I'm really happy that we joined forces on that. And I think together we're going to continue doing what we wanted to do. And I think we're going to get some great results. What I believe, what we didn't have was this thing that Brett was able to put together was a network through the tag of people who wanted to create standards, and therefore perhaps buy-in and spread of what is the right thing to do, and more acceptance. We were able to do it in a different way, but I think now with the fact that ISO is coming and the fact that people are demanding those kind of things, both GIMI standards as well as ISO standards will become more popular, accepted. So, you know, Brett, I'm really appreciate your partnership. I really enjoyed working over the last 45 days of the few days we've started working together. And I've not seen somebody with so much collaboration and such a positive spirit in working together. So I look forward to working, and 1 + 1 is 3, and together we can. Thank you.
1 + 1 is 11.
Okay, great. Let's bring this webinar to the end. If somebody wants to hang around, please do. But let's stop broadcasting and recording. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see each other next week. Bye.